In this video, we're going to take a look at embossing and engraving inside of Autodesk Inventor. Now, the emboss command can actually do multiple things. It can emboss text or profiles onto your geometry. It can also engrave those same text or profiles onto your geometry. And it can also have a third option called Emboss and Engrave. So depending on how you place your geometry or your text onto your piece, depending on how it gets wrapped onto it, it could be an embossing and engraving at the same time. So you have multiple options here with this command. Generally, people use this for stamping part numbers onto their geometry, or by putting in a certain specific logo that gets laser cut. There can be a lot of reasons why you use emboss or engrave. So let's take a look at how to implement this feature onto our designs. Here we have the Emboss Engrave IPT from our working files directory. I already have two work planes created, work plane 1 and work plane 2. Now I'm going to begin by sketching on work plane 1. I'm going to zoom into this area over here on the taller cylinder, and I'm going to start my text command. Here I'll just simply draw a text box to represent where I want to have the text. I'm going to use the center and middle center justification. I'm going to use default text, and here I'll just type infinite. When I choose OK, I want you to pay very close attention to what happens. It's backwards. Why is it backwards? Well, I'm actually drawing on the negative side of the work plane. So when you put text in, it always goes onto the normal side of the plane in the correct way. So what I have to do before I even think about putting this on here, unless I want backwards text, is to somehow remove the backwards function here of this work plane. I need to turn it around. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to do a couple undos to get back into part modeling mode. If I select this work plane and then right click on it, there is an option called Flip Normal. This is very crucial when you're using the emboss and engrave commands so that you're drawing on the normal side of the plane. Now, since this one was a child, it also flipped. However, I want that one to remain how it currently was, and this one can be flipped independent of the original. Here I'll begin sketching on this work plane again, drawing the same text box, middle center justifications, type in my text, there we go. To modify the text, you can simply double click on it, and it takes you back into your text box. So maybe this text is not large enough or it's too large and I want to change the size on it. I'll simply highlight it, then go to my size area up here for control. And here I'll just make it 3 millimeters. Then it updates. I'll choose OK. And there's my text. You'll notice there's construction lines around your text. That allows you to constrain it to your geometry if you need to. If I project my top part of the cylinder here, I can do a vertical alignment with this midpoint to this midpoint so it stays lined up together. I'll choose OK and finish my sketch. I could put a dimension in there for how far down I want the embossing or engraving to be as well. I'm just kind of skipping through that for time here. And let's begin the emboss command. This is found on our Create panel, and this is part of our flyout here with multiple other tools. Here I'm going to choose the emboss command and select my profile. Here I'll choose this profile here. The depth, I can have it be multiple depths, obviously for this. I want this to engrave in there, and I want to engrave in as 1.5 millimeters. The color of the engraved face will be black. That's my selection you see right here. You can also click on that to change it to something else. Maybe I'll do cadet blue. And then my options up here, we have embossment, engraving, or a combination. So the first option, that's the emboss. Let's try that one. And I also like to wrap that to a face. Here I'll pick the cylinder face to do that. And then I can also choose a direction for this to be embossed or engraved. We'll choose OK. And there you can see the engraving coming out of there, 1.5 millimeter. If I go back and double click on the embossment, I can modify it. Let's do an engraving this time. 1.5 was kind of tall, so let's go back down to 1 millimeter. And we'll just engrave it this time. So you can see it's actually cutting into that with a cadet blue color as the face. Now, if I didn't tell that to wrap to the face, it would just kind of go straight into it. Let's see what that looks like. So I'll turn off the wrap to face, and here I'll do 1.5 millimeters. I'll choose OK. And it doesn't have anything selected for it, so I'm going to choose Edit, engrave it into the face that way. You can see it looks a little bit different. Now I can look on it straight on rather than it being wrapped around the cylinder. So a little bit of a difference there in how you use that. I'll go back to the emboss command again. This time I'll do an emboss and engrave from this face. And I'll choose OK. If I had put the work plane in a little bit, it would actually engrave it. Since I have everything out here, it basically is just embossing it backwards onto it. Not sure how you're going to manufacture that. I would say good luck. Essentially, I want to modify that again. So I'll go back to my embossment one more time. And let's make this something closer to manufacturability. I'm going to go back to my engrave and just have it go straight in like that. Now on the other side, I'm going to do more of just a profile this time, because you don't have to do just text. So here I'll sketch on work plane 2, and we'll just create maybe a manually drawn letter. So just connecting a few lines here. Do an offset. Got a bad loop in here. Just trim that away. Finish my offset with a dimension here. Get some tangencies on that. And that's the profile I would like to have embossed or engraved. So I'll finish the sketch. Again, obviously I would finish constraining that, making it more finite for what my dimensional controls will be for that logo. I'll start the emboss command, and you can see I can pick on the profile. It doesn't have to be just text.